Our next speaker, our keynote speaker for the day, is David Auker. David is an international motivational speaker and trainer in customer service, leadership, and communication. He's a member of the faculty of the United States Chamber of Commerce Institute for Organization Management and is an instructor at no less than 5 universities. Mr. Auker was recently named among America's best speakers by Sky Radio and is a published author in Success Simplified. David's subject today: the attitude of the employee is contagious to the customer. Please welcome David Auker.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you. And thanks for joining us today. So we're going to talk about customer service. And anybody here have employees? I want to talk to you because they're the ones, that's the fuel of the engine that keeps everything going. So it's last program of the day. We're getting ready to open up the trade show at 4 o'clock sharp, kind of lethargic after lunch, and I'll need some volunteers during the program, so you're actually part of the program. But before we start, let's get some oxygen in our lungs. Just raise one hand. It opens up a rib cage. You get some oxygen. Perfect. Okay. So if I ask for a volunteer, that's what I'm going to expect. You know, it seems that we have been a little bit less kind with each other because everybody's so busy and there's all these tools to communicate and this is the product, this is your buyer, this is your opportunity. How do we get all three of these to just blend just like the ingredients of a good cake? So we're going to talk about communication, going to talk about leadership, we're going to talk about, there's a theme that I want to continue with, and the theme is that serving others is a privilege, not an obligation. So as we go through the program, I want to remind ourselves that we can't get through any media without hearing about customer service because it's such a sensitive product to give us success. And there was an article in the USA Today newspaper a couple years ago, and it was called Only Losers Lack the Courtesy to Say Thank You. But I found it interesting because they dedicated a half-page ad in USA Today, which is at the time was $35,000 retail. So they invested $17,000 to get the point across. And it was a real quick article about a gentleman that was on his way to the bus stop. He lived 22 minutes in a little studio apartment to his bus stop, and he was not going to be late. And he was nominated for the employee for perfect attendance. He had like another week and a half. Nothing was going to get him late. So he's walking to work one day to the bus stop, and he sees on the curb a half glass of wine, a $100 bill, a credit card, and a cell phone. So somebody partied and didn't make it home. So he pours the wine out, and he takes the name off the credit card and calls the number on the cell phone. Lady answers, and he says, hey, I've got some great news. I found your property, $100 bill and your credit card, and I catch my bus in 19 minutes, and I can't be late. I'll watch your property if you want to come down and get it. She says, oh, I can't come down right now. And he says, are you hurt? And she says, no, I just haven't had my coffee yet. So lo and behold, she says, well, I got an idea. I only live about 2 blocks from your little bus stop. Why don't I walk down to my driveway, open up my mailbox, and you just put my property in there? You know what he told her? It'll be my pleasure. This guy hoofed, got there on time, put everything in there, took his business card, put his business card in the mailbox. Do you think he ever heard from her? The answer is no. The answer is no, because all of a sudden we find out that there's kind of a lack of appreciation. Because I know a lot of people that are thankful, but they're not grateful, and there's a difference. Being thankful and grateful is a real asset. So lo and behold, you stop and think about other things in the news. There was an article about the IRS Restructuring Reform Act of 1998. They included in their mission statement, quote, we need to focus on customer service in the IRS. You don't usually put those two dating. So we have all these relationships. As a consumer, you have impressions, you have expectations of what to expect when you go to somebody's retail store. So if I gave you a few retail opportunities, commercial businesses that you may have experienced a relationship of customer service on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 is fabulous, 1 is wounded. give them in that little space in your mind a number. So if I said your expectations of your experience in Walmart would be, give them a number. And then you would give another, I would give you another one would be the Macy's or Nordstrom's, that kind of department store. You probably have an expectation of what to expect. I'll give you one more, which would be, give them a number, the DMV. See, that's my point. You have had an experience there that gave a reaction because, you know, we're human beings, not lima beans. We remember for 13 times longer on negative experiences than positive experiences. So when I talked about kindness, a great quote that I heard from, or that I read from Mother Teresa, she said that kindness is a language everyone understands. Even the blind can see it and the deaf can hear it. So when someone's kind to you, you understand that, you feel it, you absorb it, you accept it, and it's the same on the other. And I say when the ship is in your harbor, and that's when somebody goes through what I call the field of competition. Everybody goes through the competition filter to get to your front door or on your phone. The last thing we want you to do, and the employees that are on your team, is to take that little moment in time, almost like a billboard, 7 seconds. You're driving by at 55, 60 miles an hour. Billboards are designed that you will read, understand, react, and accept or reject that product in 7 to 10 seconds. People are the same. Somebody walks through our front door at our nursery or our garden supply center, and they think, oh, they're all the same. No, the product may be the same, but it's the person that greets them in 7 to 10 seconds, and it goes on. The next thought I wanted to take is, so I need a volunteer to raise their hand. Don't be shy, raise your hand. I have a question. Perfect, thank you. Your first name, sir? John. Okay, and how many people work in your company? 15. Okay, got to use your outside voice because we have a lot of people here. So, of those 15 people, who is the director of first impression for you, for your company? Director of first impression. Okay, anybody else, do you think? I would probably suggest all 15. Everybody on your payroll is the director of first impression. Somebody pulls in the parking lot. You go to a grocery store, it doesn't matter if it's the baker or the butcher or the produce department. They don't really, the customer just wants service. So my point is everybody on everybody's payroll, and there's some really great little nuggets we're going to get here that you can take back to your employees and say, oh boy, we're going to have a bigger, better, brighter team as a result of a couple things that we're going to get out of our toolbox, that some of those things have been kind of dusty and rusty, and I want to bring out some tools on things like that. So let's put customers in two divisions. Internal, those that we work with, and external is everybody else on the planet that needs what we have. We have the water and they're thirsty. So when you stop and think about the internal and external, so many times, and we're in offices, and I'm on the phone and somebody walks by, hey David, I'm on the phone here. See, we're a little less polite with each other than we are with those that we work for. And there is, one of my favorite conversations is communication. And communication is sent and received in 3 different ways. Anybody have a tissue? You may have a tear that wells up when I tell you this. You're only going to remember 7% of the words that I speak today. You have a staff meeting, they're only going to hear 7% of the words that you speak at a staff meeting. 38% of our communication is our tone of voice. And 55% of communication is nonverbal. Let's talk about tone of voice. Your first name is it Bob? Bob with 2 B's? Bob, I'm David. Bob, I have a question. Let's say Bob and I are having lunch, and I'm having some French fries, and the ketchup is on Bob's side of the table, and I say, Bob, would you please pass the ketchup? What would you tell me? Okay, well, thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Identical same words with a different tone of voice might send a different message to Bob. For instance, Bob, will you please pass the ketchup? I'd expect that, yeah. That tone of voice, and when somebody calls your number, let me plant the seed of thought that if someone dials your number and they want something you have, one of your product, and they choose to call you, I want you to just consider that perhaps you are their first choice. Not the second, not the third, not the fourth, the first choice. That little split nanosecond of, hi, this is David, David's nursery, can I help you? That's 7 seconds. That's their ship is in my harbor. So when we talk about communication, it's absolutely critical. And because it is our biggest tool, but it is often quite used not as efficiently or as blatantly as we think. For instance, nonverbal. My wife and I are on the San Diego Freeway in Southern California, and it's crowded. It's so crowded that you could walk across the cars faster than you could change lanes. Our off-ramp's coming up. My wife was driving, I was doing my work. And we had to get off, and we couldn't move over. The traffic was that thick. So we got to this great big diesel truck. I rolled down my window. Of course, my wife says, David, don't say anything. Stop. I said, no, I can't resist. So I said, I got to try my nonverbal skills. So I get up by the driver. I said, get up a little bit higher. So she gets up there, and for the diesel drive, and I had 2 miles to turn off, or I was going to be in Mexico. I had to get off the freeway. So we got up to the driver, and I said, and he moved over. And as he did that, I copied the number on the back of the truck. How am I driving? 1-800? My wife says, don't call him, David. I said, I have to, because we don't thank people when they do things correct, properly, and acceptable. But it's such easier for us to whine. You didn't show up. You're late. This isn't done. We need to start thanking people. So I called the 800 number, and I said, I'd like to talk to the owner, please. Hey, Frank, another call. Frank is on the, yeah, this is Frank, the owner. I said, Frank, my name is David Ocker. I'm on the San Diego Freeway, and truck number da-da-da. He said, oh, I know who that is. I said, I want to tell you that that driver has got some of the most pleasant, courteous manners that I've seen in a long time. We were trapped, he moved over, and I wanted to call and thank you. So next time you have a staff meeting, you need to acknowledge what a courteous driver you have. You know what he told me? James, is this you playing a joke on me? I said, no, no. Because people don't expect to be thanked. People don't expect to have that feeling of my team is doing the right thing. Now, the group that's here, you must have everybody here, you must have thousands of employees. I wish I could talk to all of them because they have what you need, and together you both have what the customer needs. So I need 2 volunteers that do not know how to tie. Let's start over. I need 2 volunteers that need to know how to tie a men's necktie. I need 2 volunteers that know how to tie a men's necktie. Raise your hand, don't be shy. Let me just scan the amount of hands I have here. I need 2 volunteers that know how to tie a men's necktie. Bob, help me out here. You know how, Bob? Your way is fine, come on up. And there's a hand back here. You know how to tie a tie? Okay, hold on, we're gonna need you. But I need 1 more that knows how to tie a men's necktie. Come on up. And your first name is? What is it? Don't yell. Don't yell. No, Veronica. Okay. You know, I'll come down here. Let me come down here. Now, Bob, did you see the underwhelming response I had that nobody raised their hand? So you need somebody for your team that does not know how to tie a men's necktie. So you can ask for the volunteer, or you could perhaps delegate. Your choice. Why don't you ask? You'll love this.
Can I have a volunteer who doesn't know how to tie a necktie?
Look at theirs. Yes.
All right.
And your first name is? Claire. Okay. Is it Veronica? You'll need somebody on your team that does not know how to tie a men's necktie. Oh, look at that. Wow. Okay. Okay, let's step right up here. So Bob, who's on your team here? Claire. Bob and Claire. This is going to be a fabulous color for you. Okay, and Barbara? Barbara, this is, oh, look at Paisley and Paisley. This is meant to be. Okay, so we're talking about communication. Bob and Veronica have information that they're going to transfer to their team. In other words, you know something they don't. And through communication skills, the words you speak, the tone of voice, and the nonverbal is going to transfer this. So Bob and Claire right over here. Okay, you are face to face. You cannot touch each other. Got it. Nice glasses. Now, Barbara, if you would look at this beautiful wall, you're going to be back to back, okay? Now, you're going to have to speak loud so my friends can hear you. You have 22 seconds to transfer your information. How do you tie this men's necktie? You start holding that, you start holding that, because that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Okay, 22 seconds, ready, go. Speak loud. Okay, about 10 seconds. Okay, the time's up. Okay, let's face our friends, see how we do. Okay, this is not an easy task, but there's a great lesson to be learned here, and this is an idea that you can take back to your staff meeting. Here's the point. This team had a 55% advantage, because Bob, you did exactly what I expected. You were watching Bob go like this with the tie, you were doing this, so he used all three tools. This team had a 55% disadvantage. I use this as an example. When you're communicating with somebody on the telephone or email or texting, this is a 55% disadvantage. So when you get back to your office next week and you talk to your employees about this, by the way, did you know you had a 55% disadvantage? So when you pick up the phone, say, boy, the person I'm talking to, I want to make sure that the words I choose, the tone of voice is going to be exactly, this is the product, I've got it in stock, the sun is shining, what a great weekend to get this project done. And my point is, when someone takes the time to get in front of your ship was in his harbor, this is like a golden ticket, like a lotto ticket. This is good, but I want you to realize that when you're communicating, this makes a difference. And hold on just 10 seconds, because I love treats. So let's give everybody a new book. Okay, and I'll sign that in the trade show when I get done, but I'm working right now. And you can be bathed in a warm applause as you go back. No, I have to work. I could buy another tie, but I'm in Canada next week and I need that tie. There you go. Okay.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I'll sign those. I have a booth inside. I'm actually going to do a book signing when I'm done. It's a new anthology with 24 speakers. It's a real hoot, and a lot of this is already in there. Now, communication, there's two words that are often used interchangeably, information and communication. Information's giving out, but communication is getting through. You ever had a quick phone call with someone? I gave them the information, but you didn't really communicate. It's almost like a newspaper inside of a newspaper rack. That's just information. Until I put my quarters in and I open it up and I start reading it, that's communication. So when you're communicating with someone, when you're talking to somebody, did I just give them information or did I really communicate with it? And it makes such a difference. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is my all-time favorite, the top 10 golden nuggets of customer service. And I have my business cards in my booth, and you can download this off my website. I'll give you a business card if you stop by the booth. The first one is know your customer by their first name. When you know your customer's first name and you use it in the first 10 seconds, when you hear your name, your listening skills go up over 30%. If I'm in the grocery store and I hear, David, register 4, I hear my name, but I know they're not talking about. My point is, my attention escalates. Dr. Laura Schlesinger with the radio talk hostess, when you have a train wreck of a relationship, you call Dr. Laura. She does a great job of this. If I called her show, well, David, thanks for calling the show today, yada, yada, yada. David, what's your question for me? When you get a chance and you're back at work, have a notepad by the door or by the phone, and when it rings, you get the person's name, write it down. Make sure you repeat it in the first 10 seconds. It locks them in. It locks them into the conversation. Say, I am paying attention to your requests, your needs, things like that. Number 2 is listen twice as much as you talk. This is not easy. This is not easy. My wife reminds me about this. The more you listen, the more you'll understand what the customer's asking. The more information you get, the more they'll understand. The more information they get, the better customer. I want to make sure that the seed I plant today is that you and all of your employees have this powerful opportunity to build customers for life off the first visit. Building customers for life on the first visit is the goal. I hope you take that back when you have staff meetings and invite them to do that. What I call respectful fun. We're having respectful fun here today. My point is, there's hurtful fun, rude fun, but if you have respectful fun at work, it'll just make your life a little bit better. So listen twice as much as you talk, you'll learn more and you can help them. The third is always tell the truth. If you ever want to lose a customer, I'll have this product Tuesday at 4 o'clock, ready to go, come on down. And it's not there. How many times are you going to have that customer have their ship in your harbor and disappoint them? When I wrote this one, always tell the truth, it's absolutely critical. There's an international association. You know, why do they call the 6 o'clock news the 6 o'clock news? It's a commitment. It's not the 5:57 news. It's not the 6:04 news. It's the 6 o'clock news, and I believe that, and I trust it, and I go like this, and I have the news. What a concept. Why would we do anything less for those that we are building customers for life? I was going to tell you, there's an international association called the LLPOF, and when someone tells you something that is not correct, or the plumber says they'll be there at 3 o'clock, and they don't show up till 4 o'clock, in other words, once that bond of truth is broken, it's an automatic entry in this LLPOF, which is, of course, the International Association of the Liar Liar Pants on Fire. It's everywhere. And you don't want to, it's like the mafia. Once you're in, you can't get out. The next is never argue with a customer. There is no future in arguing with, after 20 years, I was a CEO for the Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce, the Palmdale Chamber. And that was my industry, that was my career. And conflict resolution was part of my digestion. I knew I was going to have conflict every day, but never argue with a customer. When somebody just wanted to rip my lips off, I reminded myself that I'm only here to help and heal. Because they're not mad at David. I have a nice wife and a little dog. She's not mad at David. I looked at conflict as an opportunity to serve somebody. That is not easy. That is not easy when they're poking their finger in your eye, but my point is, what a wonderful opportunity, whether they got disappointed by your competitor and now they're in front of you, but when you have a chance, never argue with the customer. Best advice I ever got was from a city manager. I was at a social function, and I had somebody come in and just nail me with a complaint that was not in my realm of authority in the Chamber of Commerce. It was more of a municipal issue. But he listened, and I just listened, and I said, and I understand why you're upset. And went on and on and on. And I mean, they thought they were trying to get more of a Duke response than a listening response. So they left. The city manager comes up and says, David, I'm going to give you some advice. And I'm going to share it with you because I used this for 20 years when there was conflict and arguments going on. And this city manager was very simple. I'll share it with you right now. Put it in your memory bank and use it when you need to. Well, that tall guy that I heard in Vegas at the Central program reminded me, this is what the city manager told me. David, when one won't, two can't argue. Boy, did that rescue me. Did that rescue me when I had people really were upset. And the next one is under-promise, over-perform. Under-promise, over-perform. How many times do we have a chance to do something a little bit extra for somebody when they come into our sphere of influence? My answer is every time. Every phone call, every walk-in, I can do a little bit bigger, better, brighter than they ever expected. For instance, years ago when I was still working, about 9 years ago, I escaped from organizational management to do my own company. And it was a Wednesday in Palm Springs. I was a CEO at the time, and I had a speech in Phoenix. It's 100 and gazillion degrees here, and it's 100 and gazillion degrees here. And I needed a set of tires. So I went and I called 3 tire companies on Wednesday, because I had to have them put on because I had to be in Phoenix on Tuesday or on Friday. So I called the first tire company. I said, hi, I'm looking for 4 R7-15 tires. And he said, I'm too busy. Can you call back? And I said, I could, but I choose not to. And he said, well, that's your problem, and hung up. I called the second tire company. I said, I'm looking for 4 R7-15 tires. Have to have them put on today or tomorrow because we've got to be in Phoenix on Friday. And the gentleman said, where'd you get my number? I said, from the phone book. He says, you didn't read my ad, did you? I said, you know what? Let's start over. I want to buy today some tires. Do you sell tires or I have the wrong number? No, but you didn't read my ad, did you? I said, tell me. Apparently not. I just read the phone number, tires, phone number. That's how I just want to get to the conclusion. And he says, we're appointment only, and it's right in the ad. I couldn't put tires on for you till Tuesday. I said, you know what? I should have read the ad. He says, you're right, and hung up. I called the third tire company. I don't have expectations buying tires in Palm Springs. I said, I'll go where it's 100 and gazillion degrees and buy tires in Phoenix. I called the third tire company. I have to admit, I had a little bit of a whine in my voice. I said, I would be thrilled if you had 4, count them, 4 R7815 tires and could put them on today. There's a chance I could be your next customer. He said, excuse me, sir, can I interrupt you? And I said, please do, hit me. You know, I'm not bulletproof. I've already got 2 wounds on me. Go ahead. He said, excuse me, sir, what's your first name? I said, it's David. He said, David, would you mind holding the phone? I'm going to see if I have 4 R78 14 tires in stock. Why don't you stay on hold and listen to the hold music? I said, don't bother, I'll sing to myself. He comes back and said, David, I've got the tires, they're in stock, come on down, we're going to take good care of you. I said, wow, I'm coming down. So, you know, I've got to be honest, I don't have mechanical skills. We're all world famous for something, and I'm not a mechanic. Something breaks at home, my wife, if the pool filter breaks, don't call me, call the pool filter guy. Got a leak, call the landscaper, don't call me. So I paid my bill, I'm in the waiting area of this tire store, and I noticed people coming in after me and leaving before me, thinking I'm spending my lunch hour there. And about 20 minutes later, he comes in and gives me the keys. David, your truck's around the corner, have a safe trip to Phoenix. What do you think took the extra 15, 20 minutes to get my truck? Exactly. Not only did they wash it, they checked all the fluids, because what he heard, I'm going from one desert to another desert. I was thrilled that he gave me more than I expected. Okay, fast forward 3 months. My wife says, David, something's wrong with my car. And I said, yeah, like I would know what that is, you know? I said, oh, you need tires. You need tires, I'll do that, you know? Who do you think got the next $500 tire order? Not the gentleman said, I'm too busy, can you call back? When he did that to me, he lost $900 in retail sales. The second one, there's a lot of ways to tell people you can't have something. We're appointment only. There's a lot of ways to say you can't have something. Boy, what a blessing. We have all this business. Let me get your name and number. Something cancels, I'll be glad to call you. There's a leave the bridge. There are so many people out there building walls instead of bridges in business, and those are the people that are going to come to your front door. Oh, my heavens. Be thankful for your customers who complain, because you still have the opportunity to make them happy. I'll just bet you a dozen donuts that in the next month, somebody's going to complain about something. Be thankful that you still have the opportunity to serve them. How many times have you left a restaurant because there was an issue and you go back, we're never going to eat there again. We're not going to do that anymore. Lo and behold, you stop and think about that. You know what? We don't do that. The next is enthusiasm. How many people do you know that they get ready to go to work, they brush their teeth, and they take their shower, and they get their hair, and get their suit and tie on, they go to work? I'm going to leave my enthusiasm at home, or my attitude at home. So for 20 years, when I was a CEO, I was the last person the new employee would talk to before they went to work on their first day. And I had a lot of employees over 20 years. And I gave them all the same invitation. I gave them into my office. I said, welcome to our team. Here's my business card. On the back of my business card is my wife's name, my name, and our home unlisted telephone number. And because we're a huge worldwide chamber of commerce, attitude and enthusiasm is critical to the ingredients of working here. So if there's any day that you choose not to bring your enthusiasm or your attitude to work with you, you call my number and say, and I will pay you a full day's wages not to come in, and I will not ask what your issue is. I'll respect it. And I gave that to many, many employees. Take a wild guess. In 20 years, how many people called me home, David, because of my enthusiasm and attitude, I'm just not there today. Take a wild guess in 20 years. 2 employees, and it was the best money I ever spent. It really was. I mean, I go into retail stores, and I'm convinced the person behind the counter has a parole anklet bracelet. They have to be there. Oh no, another customer. So when I'm thinking about the Central Show, it reminds me of this quote on enthusiasm that was written in 1705 by a guy named Wesley Clark. Hey, there wasn't a lot of nurseries around in 1705, not a lot of retail business. So lo and behold, what happens is 1705, he writes this quote about enthusiasm, and I want to share with you now, because it's not just the Central, but it's your company where you are. And the quote he wrote about enthusiasm, he said, and I quote, if you catch on fire with enthusiasm, people will travel for miles around to watch you burn. How I feel is if you do something bigger, better, brighter than anybody else in your industry, they will come from miles around to do business with you. Look at the trade show. We have people from all over the United States. You are here because you want what this, we have the water and you're thirsty, and we want to quench your thirst so you go back and you're more successful. This is not brain surgery. Now, anybody, don't want the name, just raise your hand. Does anybody here work with somebody that doesn't smile? Okay, you raise your hand pretty darn quick, young man in the red, in the white shirt. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a man or woman. How do you know that they don't smile? It's body language, over the phone. And what is your name? Jeff, I have a treat for you. This is my world famous smile on a stick. And you own this. So you can put this on your desk and say, oh, what do I have here? It's my world famous smile on a stick. There you go. I should take a photograph of you holding your smile on a stick, but I'm working right now. Okay, so my point is, when you stop and think about this enthusiasm, in fact, like I said, everybody here is famous for something. Maybe you're a good delegator. Maybe you're a good note taker. Maybe you're a good listener. Maybe you're a good order taker. Maybe you're the first impression of the company that you want that. So I need 2 volunteers, a man and a lady. I want to hear something you do that just knocks the socks off your customers. Let's start with a lady. Raise your hand, and let me see, who will I pick? Oh, I see hands. What's your first name? Patty. Patty, I was sitting next to you. The tall guy. The tall guy in the suit? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm working, Patty. Now, tell us something you do that knocks the socks off your customers. Perfect. Okay. I need a gentleman to volunteer right here. First name? Was it? Scott. Okay, Scott, what do you do that knocks the socks off your customers? And open the door. Okay, excuse me just for a minute. We have a little award ceremony. You win the Knock the Socks Off award. You get one. Now, don't be shy, Patty. This is yours. I'm going to invite you to put that in a little shadow box frame, put it on your desk, and they'll say, what is this? And you can say, I earned, because I didn't give it to you, I earned the Knock Your Socks Off award. You know, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to knock the socks off your customers? They want to have their socks knocked off. They want a little bit extra because they're special. I don't have any clients, I have premium clients. Every customer I work with is a premium client. Think about your customers as premium customers and use that phrase to them. Oh, hi, Frank. You're a premium customer. When you stop and think about enthusiasm, what we do, why we do it, aren't we there just to serve others? You have something they need to make it. So we all make first impressions. The receptionist, this will startle you. Oh my. This will startle you. The person that is answering your phone while you're at the conference this week is the person answering the phone is as passionate, as enthusiastic, as articulate, as informed about your company, and they care, they have as much emotional equity in the company as you do. Got to ask, it's a yes or no, I don't want to hear it though. But take this to the second level. The voicemail on your cell phone. The voicemail at your company. How much can the receptionist bring to you or push away? Real quick, I'm in Dallas giving a speech, customer service. 500 or 600 people. I just flew in for the day and I flew out, except I had a long wait after the speech before I got to the airport. And I got done, I had called a taxi, it's going to be about half an hour, and I said, that's cool. And a gentleman came by and gave me his card. He said, will you call me before you leave town? I said, yes, sir, I will. Didn't even look at the card. Then the taxi said, it'll be a half an hour. So I said, well, let's call this gentleman before I fly out of here. So I called him. He said, I'll be in my office. I'd really like a call. I said, yes, sir, I'll give you a call. So I called the number, and reception, I said, is Mr. Smith in? No, she said, Mr. Smith is out of the country. Can I help you? I said, oh, I'm confused. I thought he was in today. She says, you're not listening to me. I said he's out of the country. I've been here 22 years. I said, this is a law firm. I'd rather not share why I want to call. She says, if you don't give me your name and number or what you want, I don't even care what your name and number is. If you don't ask me what you need, I'm not going to take a message. And I said, I must have the wrong number. I hung up. Taxi guy comes, picks me up. He said, airport, sir? And I said, well, it was, but take me here. He says, oh, this is an attorney's office in Denver, brand new office. So he took me down there, top of the floor, beautiful. Open up the door, there she is. I knew she'd recognize my voice. I said, hi, is Mr. Smith in? She says, no, he's out of the country. Can I help you? I said, oh, I was just traveling through. I thought I'd catch him. No, she said, what can I help you with? I said, oh, I'm not sure. Right off here was some beautiful hand-carved oak doors. So I walked over to the oak doors, thinking Mr. Smith is behind this beautiful oak doors. And I said, it's too bad Mr. Smith isn't in. He opens the door and he said, David, I didn't know you were coming in. He says, come on in. I said, I'd love to, knowing that I might have a letter opener or scissors in my back as I walk in. He says, so tell me why I should hire you. He had 85 employees. Why should I hire you to train my employees on customer service? I said, well, could I make a phone call first before I answer that? So he pushed his phone across a beautiful desk, and I said, do you have a speakerphone? He said, I do. I said, but could I close your door first? So I closed his door, and I said, could you dial this number, Mr. Smith? He said, oh, that's my number. I said, Mr. Smith, listening skills, please. Dials the number. She answered the phone. I said, hi, is Mr. Smith in? She said, is this the nut that called a half hour ago? She says, you really need to go to the ear doctor. I said he's out of the country. That's all he needed to hear. Hung up the phone. He says, let's change your airline ticket, come back tomorrow morning, do a program on customer service that I'd love to. And I don't know, is her day off or she was on vacation, but she wasn't there. So, so we all make a lot of impressions. The enthusiastic, in fact, when Kevin introduced me, you had an expectation of enthusiasm. You had an expectation of a reception. What if after the introduction I come up here and I said something like, yeah, we're going to talk about customer service. I hope you get something out of it. That's the last thing you want your employees to do. I want you to ignite. Your employees are warriors for your success. Are they all on your team? Are they part of it? The next is a business card. How many times you ask for a business card and somebody goes out of their wallet, there's a tea time on this. Just disregard that. Yeah, here's my card. That's called a first impression. Ever go to a restaurant and open up the door and the door is sticky to the restaurant? It's called a first impression. If I walked into the front of your nursery, retail business, your pet store, whatever your product is, what impression would I get when I walked in? Because I'm a consumer too. And my wife, who is, dare I say, an unlicensed professional hummingbird feeder, that's her thing. She shops for these things. She says, you're not going to tell him that. I said, of course I'm going to tell him that. I want to talk about being world famous because we have to wrap this up right on time because we're going to open up the expo. It's going to be fabulous. This young man wanted to be world famous at what he did, but he never had a job. My point is, I want to ignite the thought of process that your employees that help you be success and you help them be successful, and then you make your customers happy, it's all part of being world famous. So this kid's riding his bike around town. He finally saw a gas station, help wanted, so he got the job. He interviewed for the job, and the guy just wanted a vacation at the gas station because he was 10 cents a gallon more than the guy across the street. And he says, that guy's a dirty rat. I'm going to be 10 cents more forever. I can outlast him forever. I just have an issue with him. The young boy said, well, that's not my thing. But he says, if I make you a profit and I want to be world famous at what I do, will you pay me $1 more if I increase? But he said, don't you dare lower my prices that I won't. So lo and behold, he rides his bike around. He has his first day at work. Nobody shows up. He kind of feels like the Maytag repairman. Second day, a maroon van is in the back, across the street, in the back of the line. Must have been in a hurry. Got out of the line, came behind, and he gets in the gas station. He opens up the little gas door, puts a nozzle in, walks and said, hi. Of all the gas stations in town, thank you for choosing ours. Can I fill it up? She says, please do. So he goes, click. By the way, what's your name? She says, my name is Susie. Susie, thanks for shopping here. Well, what's the dog's name? That's Fluffy. Hi, Fluffy. Well, who's the child in the car seat? Well, that's Jimmy. So she gets her gas and takes off. Cars kind of mingle in. In general terms, would you agree with me that you would pay more for a product if service is implied? In general terms? I know I would. My wife does. So cars come and go. The van comes back in 3 days. He walks on the back of the van, opens up the gas door, puts a nozzle in, and walks over and says, Susie, it's good to see you again. She says, oh, you remembered my name. Oh, yeah, I'm world famous at names. That's why I'm glad you're shopping here. And he says, well, where's Fluffy? Well, he's at the vet. Is he okay? Yeah, he's just getting groomed. Well, where's Jimmy? Oh, Jimmy's in preschool. She says, you mean I've only bought gas here once, and you know my name, my dog's name, my child's name? That's what brings people back. Word got out that this kid was world famous at remembering somebody's name. So the guy comes back at the airport, the local guy that owns the gas station, somebody says, hey, did you hear what happened to the gas station? No, he said, the kid burned it down. He says, no, he's tripled your business. Oh, and he didn't lower the price. Something's going on. He rushes down to the gas station, sees all these cars. He said, how do you do it? Come on in the office, boss, I'll show you. So they're walking in the office, just then a Jaguar convertible pulls in. He says, excuse me, boss, I got another customer. Jaguar pulls in, he opens up the little gas door, puts a nozzle, walks up, and he said, hey, Frank, how's that 5 handicap at the country club? And he said, it's fabulous, thanks for asking. Frank takes off. The boss says, how'd you do it? How do you do this with this business? He said, very simply, one night after work, I went down to the hardware store. I bought a roll of masking tape. When somebody came in, I'd write their name. In other words, it was Susie and Fluffy and Jimmy, and I'd put it on the inside of the gas door. So when they came in, they would read it, and they would go on. You know, I genuinely believe, as the Lakota Sioux say, nothing happens without purpose. You're supposed to be at this conference. You're supposed to make new contacts. You're supposed to get great products. Not only do we appreciate you, but we know that you're a star. I want to leave you with one thought. And before I do that, I want to remind you that I have a booth right inside. I'll be doing a book signing. It's $20. I'll even throw in a free CD of the top 10 gold nuggets that you can take back and play to your employees. But when I talk about being a star, not only are you a star, but your employees are stars. And we need to acknowledge that. Sometimes this economy is a little bit rough, and it's hard to be a star. But I'm going to leave you with this thought because I've got to get on done right at 3:55 because they're going to open the doors, and we're all excited to do that. So I'll leave you with this thought, is to be a star, you must shine your own light and follow your own path, and don't worry about the darkness because that's when stars shine the brightest. Thank you very much for hearing my words. Let's have a great conference. I'll see you inside. Great. And I'll turn it back to Kevin.